Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time the folks on YouTube benefited from my streaming setup and the things that I've been learning since fooling around on Twitch. So this is not coming over from Twitch, this is being recorded specifically for YouTube, hence the production value being put into it. Anyways, this discussion is now in session. Having some fun with the fact that I am short one shock mount right now for this Yeti Nano. The Blue Yeti finally died. For those of you that haven't been paying attention to what I've been doing on the streams, the Blue Yeti finally died after a little under 10 years of operation. And this Yeti Nano is not a good replacement. It is simpler. Let's get some music going, featuring music from the YouTube audio library instead of overclocked remix. One of the things, this thing is a simpler replacement. It doesn't actually have any EQ control or anything of that sort. So basically what I'm doing here is just getting involved with streaming, of course. And of course, getting the levels the way I want them. So turn some of these down so I can hear myself more so than the music without affecting the levels that are going out to you folks. So I've been talking about Twitch, and I've been bringing over some Twitch crossover content, which, by the way, is just small snippets, and I made the decision after how the last two of them did that I'm not going to use any kind of editing on Twitch crossover content. I'm just going to use the export feature, send them over, put that primitive end screen on them for the last 20 seconds, and then that will be that. The crossover content does not replace following me on Twitch, because as a YouTuber over there, I'm noticing that folks on Twitch have a very different attitude towards people that try to push for some show flow, as opposed to what a lot of the streamers do. It's interesting because a lot of the streamers over on Twitch, they are, the big streamers anyways, are largely Twitch people. Whatever YouTube involvement they do have is a side project for them, or some of them even outsource everything by hiring an editor. So that's really one of the issues over there, is that the minute you do something besides turn on the camera and just do whatever, people start wondering what the deal is. I actually got raided at the beginning of my last stream, and some folks are wondering if I was recording videos while streaming. So, are you streaming to eventually make YouTube videos out of everything? It's interesting that my YouTube influence is showing there, but that definitely is the case. That definitely is the case now anyways, but not when I'm live. It just kind of works out that way. So, a lot of the questions that I've had have been revolving around how to proceed. What should I do now that we have this situation with all of this, the way things have gone between the two platforms? One thing that I'm going to be doing, of course, is gaming content. For the most part, is going to be a Twitch thing. I may make gaming videos if I really want to edit something together that's made to be edited, but play some stuff on the more Let's Play side of things, in terms of just watch the video and watch me play a game. If it's less organized, like the playthrough that I'm currently doing of Trials of Mana, and other playthroughs I might do of other games that I haven't gotten around to playing that have been sitting around for too long, or whatever and whatnot, that's where Twitch comes in handy, because Twitch is more gaming-centric, and it's more low-key and things along those lines. I've been tempted to take my own streams in a direction similar to that of some of the channels on there, where people have recaps and stuff, but recap is good for stuff that's time-sensitive. Recaps are the sort of thing that a lot of streamers do, where it's kind of like they respond to things on Reddit and stuff like that, but I think it's the best place for time-sensitive stuff. Because one of the things that has happened is that live streaming has been better for time-sensitive stuff, and YouTube is better for the long haul. It's interesting that I could see videos from years ago still picking up views on YouTube because I deliberately made them non-time sensitive, so that way they would retain relevance long after they were posted. And so that eventually adds up, and even with the piddly ad revenue just from that, it's actually pretty nice. It's pretty decent now in terms of I actually have some fun money because of the monetization. And at a time when ad revenue's dropping all over the place for so many people, I've actually seen mine go way up, probably because I'm letting YouTube go hog wild on monetizing my stuff. I actually don't have a lot of stuff that's demonetized. I keep things relatively mellow and family friendly, so there's, out of everything I have uploaded, only a handful of videos that got demonetized, and I can pretty much see why in all of them. So very, very slim amount of demonetized content on this channel. And I think I consider that a good thing. You know, YouTube wants a certain thing, and ad friendliness, by the way, gets you in on the stuff that YouTube wants to pass around in terms of sharing the wealth. But The funny part is, if I make something that brings in ad revenue, a lot of times it's with a more mainstream audience that is less likely to care about, say, I make a video that makes a lot of money, and then I turn around and buy computer stuff for the tech videos, for that sort of thing. So it's the stuff I've had to think about a bit lately. And that's why these kinds of informal discussions like this, like what I'm doing right now, it looks like I sent it over from Twitch, and I'm even using the webcam that I use for Twitch. But it's actually, this is YouTube. I'm recording this, I'm not streaming it, it's not a clip from anything. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm recording this kind of sort of to go into the podcasty category, similar to the radio style series. There we go with the burp problem again. So, MultimediaJay radio style was largely about sounding like talk radio and recording topical stuff and making it sound like the radio. So if someone listened to the podcast or listened to the playlist or listened to autoplay, it would sound like they were listening to some kind of talk radio show. It's kind of cool seeing some of those podcasts really kind of advance and whatnot, but now that I've moved beyond the frontier internet in this neck of the woods and all the outdated DSL-based stuff, the need to have a series with very low file size in order to upload quickly to YouTube and not hog the bandwidth away from, say, a tech video or something like that, that's no longer a thing. It's no longer anything that I have to be concerned about. It's no longer anything that I'm going to be concerned about. So, I got two monitors now as well. I took the project area's monitor and made it my screen too. Now I'm looking for a replacement monitor for either the project area or my screen too, depending on what specifically I want to get. And I'm just working with Blue Sherpa on screen 2 here, trying to get the levels of everything the way I want it, because with this nice new setup, and I can also spin the wheel on this too to turn everything up and down, because I can actually spin the keyboard's wheel as well. Because one of the things that this mic does get correct, though, is that it allows for separate volume between what's heard through the monitor and what goes out to the audience, or in this case, the recording. So, one of the things that we need to talk about is MultimediaJay radio style. It doesn't necessarily need to be a thing anymore. I don't necessarily need to have itty-bitty audio-only things with just a picture, similar to the topic videos you might have seen. If you look at YouTube's own system for Content ID and stuff like that, you go to a song that was submitted to Content ID, and it's this artist/topic for the channel name. It's pre-generated stuff to basically allow for playbacks and monetization if people go looking for the song on YouTube. Or if you have a cable package that has audio channels. That's really what the radio style series was all about. But since I'm interested in moving beyond USB microphones, and where is it? Bringing back some of my XLR equipment, like this Behringer XM8500 to start with, I want to get some equipment that allows for noise gating, noise gating, normalization, compression, and XLR. Mixing and EQ in real time, because quite frankly I've been using Audacity's effects after the fact for the radio style podcasts, and it's cool when you can edit things after the fact and whatnot, but the thing is, as much as I'm a multimedia guy, I never really knew where to look for equipment until podcasting became as mainstream as it is today. And of course, with everything going on, because of everything that's going on right now, causing equipment shortages in various places for podcasting equipment, I'm looking at things like entry-level mixers versus audio interfaces and deciding what to get. I think at some point, especially with what I've seen from the streamers, who basically are running little radio stations out of their bedrooms with the equipment they have, I'm thinking I could probably get something that sounds okay and does all the effects that I used to do in Audacity and just do it through a mixer and stuff like that. Get some kind of equipment chain or something like that and do everything through XLR. So, and not need these all-in-one appliance USB things anymore. I've certainly seen enough streamers with the Shure SM7B hooked up to some podcasting equipment running decent sounding shows that are very similar to talk radio, and even some of what they call podcasts over on Twitch, where people do a giant picture-in-picture and stuff along those lines. The thing is, though, I know what features that I was using in Audacity, and I was always using them all the time in post. Why not find some entry-level equipment that does that stuff in real time, and be able to do this sort of stuff like this, or over Twitch, or over something like that? Do I even need a radio-style series anymore? One of the changes that I made to my channel page a while back is that I switched out the playlists for more topical playlists, so I wouldn't run out of space on the channel page. So you can scroll around and find stuff of various types to watch if you like only a certain type of content or something like that. Or if you want to check everything out or look for some new stuff, that's also available on my channel page as well. But one of the things, I gotta make a scene in OBS for that so I can show that stuff in real time too, once I finish setting up my Avast secure browser that I use for streaming only. Because, yeah, it does have an ad blocker and whatnot, but that's more for you not getting like a giant loud ad in the middle of a discussion. Everything that I've been to in Avast Secure, I've also been to in Chrome and Firefox, and I don't use ad blockers on those, because I believe in supporting folks that are trying to, make money off of things. Make money off of stuff on the internet, which has historically been a very hard thing to do. And that was even before the current arms race regarding people not wanting to see ads and stuff, before all of that began. So, anyways, the genre playlists over on the channel, one of them is for radio style and other podcasty uploads. If I do more informal discussions like this, I think that's the category it's going to go into. So something besides the radio style series in the podcasty playlist. And, I could also come up with a playlist just for the non-radio style podcasty type things as well. But I think that's really the way to go here is I've got this equipment, why not set it up to use it? And upload times are becoming largely irrelevant. I'm waiting, with most of what I make, let's stick to the light stuff for the music. Let's see here. Of course, now it's going to go to a 50 bazillion rock songs. There we go. Silent Partner, Yard Sale, YouTube Audio Library. To stick with the gaming-centric theme over on Twitch, I actually use overclocked remixes over there. But anyways, so one of the things, I may make a playlist for these types of discussions if I make more of them, and at the same time as well, I'm going to add these in with the podcasty stuff, and try and find some equipment to be able to do this stuff in real time. Because that's kind of the sort of thing I've picked up from the streaming as well, is the ability to be better at extemporaneous stuff like this, instead of having to do a bazillion takes, or constantly cut things out and do jump cuts and stuff like that. Of course, if folks know that I'm doing this all in one big take, then it shouldn't be as much of an issue with that sort of thing. But for more topical stuff that could be turned into a pseudo podcast, I think this setup kind of could work pretty well, and it would be interesting to see if anybody liked these things. I used to be more of a vlogger a couple of years ago, but that works with the camera mic and stuff like that. I really think now's the time to make the move into making the radio style stuff sound more like something I could do, something that I could do live, instead of having to fiddle around in Audacity to change things after the fact. But for more relaxed and formal discussions like this, I definitely think that what I'm doing right now is definitely the way to go. And it's cool also because I get a little recording meter of how long I've been talking with these sorts of things. So ultimately, YouTube and Twitch are two different ecosystems, not just in terms of their numbers either. I mean, you're one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, for example, if you routinely have an ongoing audience of 500 people. It wasn't a very good hand numbers thing, not with the camera off to the side like that, but basically the magic number is 500 people. So it's very different than YouTube, with the thousands and thousands of views required to be somewhat decent on here. And a lot of that has to do with the fundamental differences between live streaming and making content to be viewed whenever. And YouTube is by far the stronger platform for uploads. I do make very robust use of the upload feature over on Twitch, or the make videos feature over on Twitch, for highlights and clips. And if you followed my Twitter, you've seen I've become quite the avid clipper of various Twitch streamers that I watch over there, catching some highlights. And if you watch, by the way, those of you that don't know how Twitch works, if you watch one of my highlight clips from my Twitter over on Twitch, you have the option of watching the full video if it's still available. Otherwise, just a highlight clip, or you can check out more current content from the creators that I'm basically making clips for. So it's been interesting, and my Twitter has exploded in recent weeks with all the stuff I'm putting over there. It's basically a combined feed. I'm using Twitter the way a lot of people use Facebook. Twitter.com, look for MultimediaJay on there. Links are also on my channel page as well if you want to go check it out. But I have stuff from the blog, I have stuff from here, I have stuff from Twitch, I have clips of other creators that I watch, things along those lines. It's just a place for everything over on Twitter in one big combined feed. Now, with YouTube versus Twitch, each one of them is stronger at something the other is weaker at. YouTube is stronger at stuff that you make on purpose to upload, and then it can be passed around indefinitely. Twitch content has a nasty habit of expiring. even when converted over into YouTube videos. Oh, yay, this is one of the more hillbilly tracks I've picked up in recent weeks from the YouTube audio library. I think St. Ansriel is a little bit more yeehaw. Yes, it is. So, and of course, the names of the tracks are down in the corner on the slightly modified Winamp, so people wouldn't be making fun of me as much for still using Winamp. But this is one of the few niche uses that I can find for it, is as a little plug-in or a thing that says what music is currently playing down in the corner. So, but yeah. So YouTube and Twitch, they're better at the stuff the other is worse at. YouTube's not very good at sending stuff around immediately. It's terrible at time-sensitive stuff, and in some cases with some topics in the news and whatnot, like some of what we're putting up with right now, time-sensitive stuff actually can get you demonetized. Those of you over on YouTube know exactly, you YouTubers know exactly what I'm talking about with one of the big ones, which we're not going to mention here. But over on Twitch is the opposite, and I think that's where the recap part of my streams is going to come in handy. Whether I talk about a tech thing or whether I talk about one of the big thing you can't talk about on YouTube right now, and all the other stuff that's going on that's more time sensitive, because who cares that I talked about this, that, or the other like weeks after it happens. So that's the thing. YouTube content I've seen get passed around by the algorithms sometimes years later. It's the Twitch content that expires. And even when Twitch was still allowing for uploads from non-affiliates, even before Twitch took away upload functionality, Twitch uploads expired. That they basically had a soft expiration. What would happen is you would basically stop showing up in any and all search results after some content on Twitch was more than, I believe, 2 months old. So, fundamentally, YouTube is a place to make stuff and have it be edited, put together, a good use of your audience's time, and have it basically get sent around by the algorithms indefinitely. Twitch, on the other hand, is where stuff expires. And so what's better for what determines what I do where. So there is going to be a non-gaming component with the recaps that I do, not unlike some of the big streamers that I watch, like SFan TV and Trainwrecks TV, but for the gaming stuff that's less formal, that's more of a streaming type thing, and I am converting what I'm doing with Trials of Mana right now into a Let's Play series over there by using the highlight feature to save various bits and pieces of the gameplay. But the thing is, Twitch is a lot more informal. I was thinking a lot about Let's Players lately on YouTube. I've complained for years about how Let's Players, some of them cheat because they're not doing what they're doing live, and I can think of some reasons why someone would do that. So they go through and maybe their best take or something, or their best attempt is what goes into the LP, and they have some kind of walkthrough. And not so sure about this classic music here. Here we go. But you do your thing and the best stuff goes together. The question I have is, and I'm still subbed to some Let's Players over on YouTube, how exactly does Let's Play fit into this category when it comes to YouTube and stuff, or YouTube versus Twitch? Streams are a little more informal and more about interacting with the community and just having fun, whereas Let's Plays might be about a walkthrough showing you how to beat the game or something like that, or show you a speed run or something along those lines. But that's really the dividing line that I keep seeing between YouTube and Twitch, is that one of them is good at what the other is bad at. YouTube's good at uploads, Twitch is good at live streaming. YouTube content gets passed around by the algorithms indefinitely, sometimes, as we've seen with some of the videos that I have here, to the creator's surprise when something's still picking up views years later because the algorithm is still passing it around, and it took forever for it to get any views in the first place. Whereas Twitch, content tends to be more instantaneous and expire. Now, this balance does not at all change the fact that it's a good idea to follow me on Twitch. Twitch.tv, MultimediaJay, because in the VOD section, because I'm coming over from YouTube and not just being Twitch only, I'm actually making a lot more robust use of the VOD feature over there for things like highlights and clips and stuff, especially highlights on my channel. That's the equivalent of YouTube videos over there. So when I cut out a part of a stream to make it into a standalone video, that's basically what's going on over there. There might be some highlights of the recap or something like that. There might be some highlights of some other things as well that make it over to YouTube as Twitch crossover content. But if you sit around here waiting for it to come over here, you're going to miss a lot of it. I'm not going out of my way to make lots of crossover content. It's more worth it to go over and follow me on Twitch. these two platforms have their strengths and weaknesses, and I intend on making use of both. It's just the way it is. So don't wait for everything to come over on YouTube. Go follow me on Twitch and check out my streams when I'm online. Or check VODs afterwards, because I actually put more into using the video features on Twitch than a lot of people do over there. A lot of folks are getting into live streaming because it's easy, but then they don't do anything. They just sit there and play the game, and they don't really do anything to try and advance their content. And then they wonder why they're always at the bottom of Twitch lists, because nobody ever finds what they do interesting unless by wild chance. I don't know. But that's really the issue. And of course, Twitch does have simpler systems than YouTube, even as YouTube tries to ramp up its live stream presence. But as it stands, the two platforms are good at what the other is bad at. So the best thing for you to do is not only subscribe to me on here, follow me on Twitch, and also follow me on Twitter for the other stuff that I do as well, because I've really been round-robining between platforms a lot more than usual. Doing a lot with Twitch right now because I want to get that going, and I also want to become more familiar with live streaming in general. But now you're starting to see, with discussions like this, things come full circle and affect how I do things on YouTube. I did some experimenting with the Twitch crossover content, and then ultimately decided not to put, intros and stuff on it. So I got to figure out what to do with these, because they're actually being recorded instead of directly sent over from Twitch. But ultimately, the dust is going to settle from this at one point or another, and then we'll move forward. So, of course, the audience that I have on here might change, because I've drawn a line in the sand that will offend some people away from the channel and get some other people interested whenever they find it. That's the experience I've had with YouTube, is time and again, what I get for feedback from people is they wish they'd found my channel earlier. So, YouTube is better at discoverability, but that doesn't mean it's amazing at it. So, that's what's going on with that, and that's where we're going from here. Also thinking of cutting out a lot of content as well that isn't really close to the whole multimedia stuff that I like doing by default. That's a sting, actually. That's not the full version of the song. Let's see here. Oh, there we go, Lake Erie. That'll work. That'll work to wrap up this discussion. So, twitch.tv/MultimediaJay, twitter.com/MultimediaJay. Check me out over on those platforms and follow me over there as well. Links are also on the channel page here on YouTube as well, to go over to Twitter and Twitch and other places and things along those lines. Another thing I'm looking to do is that if I get to affiliate status on Twitch, discontinuing the Patreon. So that way, instead of, if someone wants to support me monthly on something, they might as well just sub to me on Twitch and get gaming content included in the package instead of it just being a raw donation. I'm really second-guessing my involvement in Patreon with the possibilities that Twitch offers. And also, let's not forget, YouTube is piloting a feature right now with the join button for people above a certain number of subscribers. But at some point, much like what happened with some of the other systems they've rolled out, I think it's not if, but when we see that feature eventually rolled out to other creators and not just the biggest ones. Once the testing gets to where it needs to go, where it can be more widely rolled out, there's also going to be that as well. So I don't know. I mean, Patreon, YouTubers and Patreon, I don't know if there's much of a future with that stuff, because I think YouTube is finding out, hey, why should YouTubers have to do these third-party services? We can get in on the fun if we have some internal feature in the site. Although I still think YouTube should take a hint from some of its competitors and just roll out a tip button. So if someone wants to tip a YouTuber some amount one time, they have the option to do that. The join button, I think, should be only the beginning. And YouTube already has the infrastructure for that. Super chats and other things like that allow for that sort of thing when live streaming. But what about on the upload side of things? Because there have been competitors that have had tipping buttons as well for people that wanted to tip creators. So, but that's another discussion entirely. As it stands, and let's stop the music here because we're about to wrap up. As it stands, so I'm involved on YouTube and I'm involved on Twitch. That's the way it's going to be. And the question is what to put where. And quite frankly, you're missing out. If you're not following me on Twitch and you're not following me on Twitter at this point, you're definitely missing out. And YouTube, what I have on YouTube will probably change at some point to reflect that. Because some of the frustrations I had with YouTube were due to being fishbowled by it as the only viable platform before I found a way to make live streaming work. Or other stuff that's going on out there, make that work as well. That obviously has changed. permanently, and it's time to acknowledge the new reality instead of living in the past. This is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.